Well, I've been anticipating this project for about a week and a half now. We're putting together a new haunted house for 2019. A nice little luminary centerpiece, maybe even a gift. Whatever it may be, it's going to be awesome. And based on how it was designed and engineered, it's going to be, I think, it's just as cool as our I think it was the Midnight Manor, but it's going to be a lot easier to put together. It's not as, I don't think it's as complex, and it should go together pretty quick. I think we're going to spend most of our time just putting all the little details on all the different sections. So anyway, right here in front of me, I am beginning to just fold the little scored areas for our base for the haunted house. So you want to make sure you do that. And it's all one piece. And what we're going to do is begin by simply putting glue on these little tabs here. So I'm going to start with these little triangular ones that are closest to this little structure. You can call it the top or the bottom. I'm going to fold it out of the way so I can just bring it up and connect it right next to, or connect that little tab to the neighboring piece on the inside. Okay, so it's going on the inside there. Just hold that in place for a few extra seconds because there is some weight attached to it and we don't want it ripping off. So be patient with this one for just a moment. I think it's got it. Okay, so we can move on over to this side here and we'll get our glue on this little triangular tab here. It looks like my bottle is really pouring it out right now, so hopefully it kind of clogs up a tiny bit. I don't like it when it oozes out so much. Okay, so we'll get that one connected now. Just make sure you've got it nice and lined up, and then just hold that in place for a few extra seconds than we normally would, just to make sure that it gets a good hold. There we go. Okay, now we can move on over to this side here. Next little tab, just working our way clockwise. Just going to dab that a little bit, pull this up, take that tab, stick it right behind the wall, this piece here, and just hold and squeeze. Okay, so you'll see there how quickly, I mean it's still setting and drying, but for the most part, if you just use a little bit of glue and not too much, you don't have to sit there and hold it forever. So try to be kind of sparse with the glue. All right, so the next one here, just getting it lined up and connected. Give that a squeeze. Now there's no weight on that one, so I'm not worried about having to hold it forever. And we've got two more. I'm just gonna dab that a bit, a little bit too much glue there. And tuck that back there, press and squeeze to get those connected. There we go. And the last one. You have to get your glue nozzle in there. Just kind of spreading that glue around a little bit. And last one there, press and hold. And then we're just going to take this big piece and fold it over to close this up. Okay, so get all of your tabs ready here. And that's fine. Okay, so let's apply our glue onto our tabs here. And then I'm going to do a nice little line right along the edge. And I'm going to spread that glue out. Now the cool part about this, and I've mentioned this many times, when we're assembling structures like this where one side, the top or the bottom, is already connected, if we don't do our best work here, it's okay because we can always flip it over and just use the other side. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Okay, let's get that glue out to the very edges. Let's make it pretty, even though it's spooky. And there we go. Okay. All right, so we're going to close this up now, and my suggestion would be to just make sure that you get it lined up with the side opposite of the side that's already hinged. and focus on getting that nice and flush and aligned. And then the rest should sort of just fall into place. And if you need to kind of nudge the walls in a little bit, now's the time to do that before it completely sets. And just run your finger along the very edge, the seam here that connects the top to the sides. Make sure that everything is getting good contact. That looks good. This side is a little bit sticking out a bit, but hey, remember what I said. If it's not perfect, give it a second. If it's not perfect, you can always flip it over. Now we got this side that is perfect because it was already connected. Now just check your work, make sure nothing is out of place. Everything's making contact, and I'd say that that's pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit of color to this base with this nice pattern piece here. So let's do that. Let's get our glue onto this piece. Go real thin on this. You don't want it bulging or any of the glue kind of warping the paper. So just go easy on the glue and just line that up. It should fit perfectly. Run your fingers along the edges here. Make sure that it's making good contact all the way around. We don't want this piece coming up at all. Let's be nice and flush. There we go. Okay, so our base is almost done. Now we do have some little grass elements that we're going to add to this, and I've gone ahead and embossed as well as inked this piece. Okay, so you see how this is going to look, just like that. So what I would do is I'm going to put some glue on the center piece here. Let's get that in place first, and then we'll do the other two sides that are connected. Now I did fold this at the score marks here. It is an attached piece. Get that nice and centered. It should just kind of fall into place, and then check, kind of fold these over, make sure that they're in the right spot too. Should be nice and flush with the bottom and the top. Basically fit on there perfectly. Okay, now we can fold this over. And you don't want to put glue on the actual grass part, so maybe you just put the glue here so that you don't accidentally get it in a spot where you don't need it. And just fold that over. Make sure that it's nice and lined up and flush with the bottom. Just like that. And then we can go over to this side and do the same thing here. Oops. Yeah, just put it on the actual box itself. I think that's just gonna be easier. And I went a little heavy on the glue there. That's okay though. All right, just fold that over, making sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom. There we go. And that part is on there. It's gonna be a nice little base for this. And then we've got two longer pieces, one that's a little bit shorter. And obviously the longer pieces are going to go, well, they're gonna go here. Now you want this taller blade of grass coming or up towards the front and the shorter one towards the back. Okay, so let's get our glue on the actual box itself so we don't accidentally get it in an area where we don't need it. And I'm just gonna thin that out nicely. And just apply that right on there. Make sure it's nice and flush with the bottom and that it's kind of matching and lining up, connecting almost to the existing piece that we already have in place. There we go. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Now we'll get the other long piece for the other side. Let's get our glue on here. And you know what, I'm actually going to bring that glue all the way to the bottom. I want it to be nice and flush there. Good contact all the way through. Run your finger along the bottom there. Make sure it's nice and even and aligned. Press that into place. There we go. And the last one, just the back. Go ahead and get our glue here. Just like that. Get that glue to the bottom. Okay, and voila. Just cover that up. Make sure it's nice and centered. nice and flush with the bottom, and bam. And that's it for our base. So the footprint on this house is a lot smaller than our previous haunted house, but it's gonna look great when it's done, okay? So there's our base. Now we're gonna do a bunch of like paper piecing and just kind of adding all of the different details to our haunted house before we go ahead and assemble the structure. I think it's gonna be a lot easier to do it this way. Okay, so what we'll do is, well, we can start with this piece here, and that's one of the sides. Okay, it's just like this piece here, except this one's already connected. And you'll notice that we do have a numbering system here to help you get everything placed in the right place. Okay, so let's find these two pieces. Okay, so now the little cutout for the window, it's a little bit bigger than the cutout here, but all we need to do is when we put this on, just make sure that this is going to be flush with the top of, in this case, I have a green piece here. It's going to be flush with the top, and then of course you want to make sure that it's centered so that you have an even border on the left and the right side. Okay, so you see how that's gonna sit just like that. All right, so let's just get that in place. And then there are also some vellum elements that we're going to need to add to this as well, which we'll do here in just a moment. We'll kind of just work on one section at a time and get everything in place. Okay, now I did a lot of inking on this, and I also did some embossing as well. Okay, so remember, as we place this, I'm gonna kind of grab it like this, and just make sure that I have it centered when I put it down, and most importantly, that it's nice and flush with the top. Okay, so that looks good. Nice and flush with the top. Looks like I have a pretty good even border going all the way around. I'm just going to press that into place, like so. And that looks great. Okay, so flip this around and we can add our little vellum. Now for these two windows, we're looking for these pieces of vellum here. They're going to go just like that. Okay, so go ahead and I'm just going to do some dots. Eventually when this thing is all assembled, you're not really going to see the inside, so don't worry too much about the gluing method for your vellum. You can be as sloppy as you want. Get it out of your system now. Okay, so there we go. We've got our vellum on there. Now, I'm kind of debating as to whether or not I should put the windows on now or later, because I don't want them to get in the way. I don't want to squish them while I'm assembling. So I think I'm just going to wait and do that later on. Now actually, while we're here, you can go ahead and put this piece on. This piece is going to go on like this. This is our little door on the back of the house that we're going to use to access well, the inside so that we can put our little tea light in there and get it illuminated. So let's just go ahead and get this glued down. It's kind of a wobbly piece, so I have to move and adjust my grip here a few times. And just like we did with the previous piece, we want to make sure that we get the top of this piece aligned with the very edge of this top part here, the green part. Okay, so let's try to center it nicely. And just drop it into place, and then I'm going to pick it up and use my fingers to kind of push down to make sure that it's nice and flush there. And that looks like it lined up perfectly. Get some of that excess glue out of there. Perfect. Now we also have one more piece that's going to go on like this, just to kind of finish this little piece up for the door. Let me fold that, and we'll get our glue on this piece here. And just pop this into place. Okay. And this just needs to be centered, nice even border all the way around, just like that. Okay. Very good, very good. Okay, so, and I think this is going to help. It's going to be easier to assemble too because it's nice and thick as far as the structure goes. So let's move on over to this piece here. And just like this piece, oops, what happened there with my, I accidentally got must be some glue on my table. Well, be careful with that. All right, let's get this piece in place next. Just get your glue on this piece. Try to make sure that you get a little bit out to the edges there. We don't want that peeling off. And then just a little bit in the center. And maybe a little bit around the windows. Just a tiny bit, you don't need a lot. Okay, and then remember, nice and flush at the top, nice and centered so you have an even border on both sides, left and right. And then just drop it into place. Check your work up there. And that looks good. Press that down. And then we'll flip it over. And we'll put our vellum on the inside here. So last time I did little dots. This time I'm just kind of doing a thin line that's almost perforated based on my pressure that I'm applying. And just pop that right in place, just like that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so, and that's going to get connected there in just a moment, but let's finish this up here and let's get the rest of the stuff in here. This is the main part, the front of the house. I'm just going to put this off to the side, create some more room for myself. Okay, so on the front here, we've got a couple sections that we need to kind of focus on here. And there's some sections that we're just not going to touch just yet because they are going to connect to the stairs that we have to build for this later. But we can certainly do this piece right now. Okay, and again, this is going to be, I'm going to fold this and try to get it out of the way. Okay, that's as far as we're going to get. This needs to be glued down just like this, and it needs to be pretty much flush with the little peak here, just like that. Okay, and that's how that's going to look. Nice even border on both sides there. So this is our front door and our window. Okay, so let's get this on there. Now, when you emboss pieces like this, not all of this is going to make contact with the surface of the base structure here. So you have definitely try to get glue into, you know, as much of the areas as you can so that we get a good hold. I gotta act quick here. My glue bottle's starting to, I don't know what it's doing. It's got a mind of its own. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at the peak there, right at the very tip, and I'm using that as my guide. Nice and centered, nice even border on both sides if possible. And then just pop that into place like that. And I am way off actually. Oh goodness. All right, good. I was able to scooch it over before it completely set. So, thank goodness for this glue. So definitely check your work and make sure that that border is as even as you can get it. Okay, so that's all good. Now, we're going to put the door on later as well as the windows. And for now, there's also these pieces here, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. And these pieces are going to go right here, but you'll notice that these little stairs are sticking out. We're actually going to connect this later on once we actually have the stairs and the house is put together, because it's going to make it look more seamless. But we don't need to worry about that right now. So what we can do is work on these pieces here. Okay, and these kind of have the appearance of being straight, but they're not. And again, we want to make sure that we align this flush with the top right here, but also make sure that it looks like it's nice and straight. Let me show you what I mean here. If we grab this piece, it's going to look, you see how I have it straight up on top, but it's coming off this way. That's obviously not the correct piece. So make sure you get the correct piece. It's kind of angled a little bit, and just kind of hold it up there. Make sure that it is in fact the right piece, and that is. So we can go ahead and get that in place. Add your glue. This is going to go pretty quick, I think. Kind of just assembling the top and then the bottom, and then we're going to join the two together. I'll just put the windows on little roof pieces, and before you know it, we'll be done. So I'm gonna hold this up like this so I can get my finger right up here. Make sure it's centered, and just drop it into place, just like that. Perfect. Now with these windows here, we can actually go ahead and put the overlays on. We have 4 of these, 2 for each side. So grab one. Did I not ink that one? Maybe I didn't ink that one. Okay, and just add a little bit of glue. Hello, glue. What are you doing? There we go. So a tiny little bit of glue on that piece. Probably overdid it a tiny bit. Okay, and just match that little cross section up with the existing cross section and pop that into place. There you go. So that's how that's going to look. All right, we'll grab our next piece here and get that glued down. You know, sometimes the glue is just, it's almost inconsistent as far as how it comes out, and it's probably just because my bottles have been sitting around and sometimes I leave the cap off. And you know what, I do need to ink that piece there because I must have forgotten to, so let me do that real quick. Now, I did a lot of inking with gray, and I didn't actually have gray, so I did kind of ruin one of my pads. I wouldn't call it ruin, it's just a creative decision, but I took silver and I added a little bit of black to it, and that kind of gave me the color and the look that I want. Now see, that's coming out too silver, so I'm gonna grab my, where's my black? There it is, there's the one I ruined. And just throw a little black on there and just go between the two. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done that before. So let me hit that with a little bit of ink. Typically, if you're looking for more thorough videos on the way that I ink, check some of the freebies. Take a look at the photos for the freebies, and if you see some inking on them, chances are I show the process in a video, in the assembly video for that freebie. Okay, so planning on putting together an entire page with embedded videos that show, you know, projects that contain inking. Okay, so let's get this one lined up correctly. That looks good right there. So let's get our glue on this piece. And it's kind of fun working this way because you start to see all the pieces get used up and incorporated. It's just kind of working down the line with a little checklist until we reach our final result. Okay, so I'm just kind of dropping it into place, making sure that it's nice and centered, nice and flush at the top, and then just press that down. And then we can take our little overlays for the windows and get those in place. Don't need a ton of glue on this. It's a very tiny little piece. It's not going to need a lot of glue. Just match that up with the existing little cross. There we go. Okay, just going to kind of dab that a little bit and pop that right into place. There we go. Okay, so now while we're on this piece, we're pretty much done with this piece, but we're going to flip it over and add our vellum. Now there's 4 of these tiny circles here. Okay, those are for the windows. So let's get those in place now. I'm just going to do a little line of glue around each one. Just make sure you're covering up the cutout. And just push that down. Just like that. And there we go. A couple more, and then we've got 2 more little vellum pieces for the center. This is going to look really cool. Now I actually, even before I started this project, I was so excited for it that I built a really cool set so that we can film a really cool trailer for this project, and it involved, involved styrofoam and cutting styrofoam. Yeah, that little bit of yellow totally brings this thing to life and makes it feel very Halloween-y. Very cool. Okay, so now I'm going to grab this large piece here. This large piece is going to cover the window as well as the door. Okay, so go ahead and just get your glue around the perimeter here, maybe a little bit in the center, and then work some down here as well, just like that. Okay, and make sure that you're covering up the cutouts. And you see what I did there? I kind of covered up a little bit of the bat, which is a different color, so I'm just going to trim that back. And that's fine. It's not really, no one's going to see that. But you could probably be a little more careful, make sure that you do get it aligned correctly. All right, now our bat is going to be purple. We've got some purple vellum there. So let's get our glue around Mr. Bat here. And get our smaller piece of vellum on there. Make sure you're covering up the cutouts so that the light can shine through. And watch and make sure that you don't encroach over the little score marks there. All right, so let's take a look here. Awesome. Okay, so that is that. And I think what we'll do next is, well, let's do some more paper piecing stuff. And let's get the stuff on our roof, and then we'll go back to the assembly of the actual structure here. Okay, so these are our pieces for the roof. We got some dormer windows there, and what we want to do is find our big panels here. Okay, now you'll notice that this one's going to go here. This one's going to go here around the moon. This one is going to go here where it's cut out like that, okay, and then this one is going to go here. So let's just jump right in here and get this on there. I'm going to start here. And maybe we'll just assemble the roof first since we're working on it. Just want to get all these pieces out of the way and put on what I can while we're working flat, because I do my best work when I can use my table. Okay, so just make sure you get that nice and aligned with the cutout for where the windows are going to go. Okay, so we can move on over to our next piece here. Now this one doesn't really have anything to help you with the alignment. All you want to do is make sure that you get it nice and centered so that not only do you have a nice even border going around, but you should also have a nice even border around the cutout of the moon as well. Okay, so just focus on trying to get that as lined up as you can. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm kind of gazing at the moon here and using that as my guide initially, and then kind of adjusting it clockwise or counterclockwise just to make sure that I've got it nice and centered. And that looks about right there. Perfect. Okay. Now while we're here, we can flip this over and put our vellum in place for the larger moon. There's a little section with a smaller moon as well. So just get that in place. Just make sure that you've got it all covered. There we go. Okay, perfect. Move on over to this piece now. And let's get this into place. Now with this one, we're gonna do our best to just get it nice and aligned with the cutout for the window. Should match up nicely. I'm looking at the little point at the top of the window as my initial guide. There we go. And there we go. All right. Now, so just got to get this piece into place. Now this one is going to, well, you want to match it up nicely with the little cutout here for where the main roof goes, or the little part that comes out. Okay, so we'll just do our best to get that nice and aligned. There we go. Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to hold it like this. And I'm looking at the point there at the top of the little area. And then you can look down here as well, just to make sure that that's all nice and lined up. And then the moon needs to have a nice even border all the way around it as well. And I think I've got it lined up pretty spot on. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, good. There we go. And then we can flip this over and get our other moon here. The vellum for the other moon in place. Just like that. And just pop that right on. Give it a press. Presto. Okay. All right, now our little windows here. We can just get these guys all done up as well. Okay, so we have these little pieces here that are going to go on top. Just make sure you find the right one. Actually, I think they're both the same, so I don't know if you can really mess that up, but let's get our glue on this piece here. And I think we're going to just build these little windows and get them in place here in just a moment. Okay, so also you want to make sure that you get the orientation right, because it'll technically work this way or this way, but it only fits correctly one of the ways. So before you put your glue down, just make sure that you have the orientation correct so that it fits completely. I think I flip-flopped that one a little bit. It's hardly noticeable because the difference is very insignificant, but just want to make sure you get it done the right way. So, all right, so let's pop that right into place. Ooh. Getting a little messy here. All right, now let's flip this over and find these two pieces of vellum. We're going to put this right on here. This would be nice little yellow lights coming through the top floor. Maybe it's an attic, a creepy attic. There we go. And there we go. Pop that right on there. There we go. Okay, great. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and just assemble these real quick. It's a very quick process. These tabs here, these are going to be used to actually well, hold the windows in place. So all we really need to do right now, let's focus on this small little tab here. We're going to put some glue on that and glue that to this piece here. You want to make sure you get it nice and flush, nice and lined up, just like that. And just hold that in place for a moment while it sets. Okay, and it's going to give us some nice dimension there. And we'll head on over to this side here with this tab. And just kind of dab that a bit. Fold this over and just make sure you get it nice and aligned. How's your version going? Hopefully going well. Okay, and then let's close up the top. So just throw a little bit of glue on this tab here. Get that glue out to the edge. Tuck it under and just connect it like that. Make sure it's nice and lined up. There we go. Okay, now as I mentioned, the rest of these tabs are going to get glued to the inside of our structure here. You got to make sure that we go, just like that. Now, I'm not ready to glue these down yet. I haven't decided if we're going to do that now or later, but that's what it's going to look like, and then we're going to put a roof on it. I think that might be a good idea to do this now. I don't think there's any harm in doing so, and we'll put the roof on later. So go ahead and pop yours through, and you'll see how the tabs should match up nicely. I'm going to begin by getting this bottom tab in place, because that kind of sets the tone for where it needs to go. Okay, and you can actually do this flat. There we go. And then let's work our way up to the top. If you need to push it out a little bit more at the top, that's fine. And you don't need to coat the entire tab, just a little bit of glue up there is fine. And then just push that down nice and flat. Okay, and then let's maybe just do this one. Just a tiny bit of glue, don't need a lot. And just push that down flat. And then 2 more little tabs here. Medium size, I guess. Fold that over, put that down on your surface, and just press down. Get a little bit of glue on there, I did. Yeah, that's okay. It's a creepy looking house. It's not going to be perfect anyway. Okay, all right, so that's all good, and we've got 1 more of these to assemble. So let's just do the same thing we did. Just throw a little bit of glue on the tiny tab here, and then get that connected nicely. Should be a nice straight line here. Okay, same thing with this one. Nice straight line where they join. Okay, and then the top. Get that glue out to the edge. Tuck that behind. Make sure it's nice and straight. Give that a squeeze. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and we can fold these tabs over this way just to get them ready. And let's find our other little hole here. So this, the bottom part doesn't really peek out. You just want to get the top part through until the tabs kind of hit it. Just like that. Just push that out all the way. And let's start again by anchoring the bottom. Just a tiny little bit of glue will do. Press that down. Use your table, and that will ensure that it's poking out as far as it needs to. I had a little bit too much glue there, so I'm just going to use a little skewer to get rid of that. Okay, and that looks nice. Let's go up to the top. And just a little bit of glue there. And a little bit of glue there. Fold that over, and then just press down. There we go. And the last 2 tabs here for our windows. Fold those over, push down, and voila. Okay, so our windows are in place. You want to go ahead and kind of fold everything at the score marks here. Now these tabs here at the bottom, these tabs are going to be used to actually connect this to the main structure. Okay, so we do have some tabs that are going to help us create the actual roof. We'll do that in just a moment. And you know what? Yeah, this thing is pretty much ready to go. So let's go ahead and put this together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect this tab to this section here. You want to make sure that you get it as perfectly aligned as you can. And let me just think here and make sure that I'm not missing anything. Yeah, we'll put the roofs on these after we get this together. They kind of stick off a little bit, and I don't want to mess anything up, so there's no harm in doing that. Get a little bit of glue out to the very edge there, and then just spread that out to the edge. You can put that down on your surface, and then do your best to get this lined up as accurately as you can. Just like that. I think that's good. Still working flat, which I love. Okay, there we go. And you can fold it over on itself. Check your work. check your alignment. I think that's great. Okay, so now you can go ahead and connect this up here. So grab your glue and get your glue up here. Wonderful. And get that nice and aligned. It's a little awkward, but not horrible. There we go. Perfect. You can put that down on your surface too and press down from the inside. There we go. Okay. So far so good. All right, so let's close up the top. I'm going to tuck these under so I can put this down on my surface a little bit easier. Okay, so here we go. Get our glue on these tabs here. We're going to get that glue out to the edge, make it nice and clean. We've got a nice little balcony that we're going to put on here for all the monsters to spy on everybody. Okay, and then pop that down and focus on making sure that the side opposite of the side that has the hinge is lined up. Okay, there we go. Just like that. Beautiful. You can put this on the surface of your table again and push from the inside to help that glue really set. And then all we need to do is just connect these little tabs here. The rest of these here are, well, they're for the main structure of the house, but these we do need to connect. So this little tab here, get your glue on there, just like that. Fold this over and make sure that you're getting it nice and aligned. Should be a straight line right here. At an angle, obviously, but it's still a straight line as far as where everything connects. And again, the rest of these tabs are for later on when we connect everything together. Okay, so next up is this tab here. Get some glue on that. And tuck that behind this piece. Get it nice and lined up. And there we go. And then let's go here. I forgot to fold these. Silly Leo. Can move that out of the way. Now, I was not patient enough with this, and now it's coming undone. So don't do that. Okay, here we go. A couple more tabs here, and our roof is mostly done. And we can go over to the main structure here. Okay, so you can fold this down, get it nice and aligned, and give that a squeeze. Be patient. Okay, and that just leaves one more tab here. I'm gonna have to tuck it under because it's kind of sticking up above the area where it needs to go, and that's okay. So let's just tuck that under, get it lined up. Nice angle there. And just hold that in place while it sets. Give that a squeeze. Beautiful. Okay. There we go. And again, remember these tabs here are going to go inside of the top. What a cool little roof, huh? Okay. All right, we'll put that off to the side for now. And here, I'm going to show you real quick. These are the little roof pieces. We'll put those on later on. I think just to finish it off because I don't want to risk damaging them. All right, so main structure here. Now remember, I mentioned this before. We do have a numbering system on this. If you look, let's see. There's a number 1 here. There's a number 2 here, so that's going to go here, and then 3 is going to go here, and then we're going to connect it all together here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's connect these two pieces together first. So throw your glue on piece number 1. Nice amount of glue, one out to the edge. I'm going to tuck this way so I can work that glue out to the edge without spilling over onto the surface. So that'll be nice. Okay, so remember this is piece 1, piece number 2 with the label here. And do your best to get that aligned as accurately as possible, nice and flush at the top and bottom. Get that in place, give it a press, and fold it over onto itself, and then kind of press down on the very edge there. Okay, looks good to me. All right, and now this is piece number 3. Piece number 3 is going to go right here, just like that. Okay, so let's get our glue on this section here. This tab, I should say. And a little bit right up to the edge. Bring that over like this. And just kind of paint that glue out to the edge. All right, so piece number 3 going in place. Check your alignment. Get it nice and aligned. There we go. And fold it over onto itself. Kind of run your finger along there and just should feel it. You can pretty much feel if it's, you know, on there accurately. Beautiful. Okay, so now you can see our house is starting to kind of come together here. All we need to do at this point is connect this to this. Okay, so let's get our glue on this section here. And a nice line up to the edge. Bring it down like this. There's just something about the orange, or orange and black, the way that they contrast. I love those two colors. And it just so happens to be, well, almost the color of my favorite football team. Okay, so just get that lined up as accurately as you can. Now at this point you can still kind of work flat because this piece just gets out of the way. And that's nice. And then fold it over onto itself. Check your work there. Everything looks great. Okay, so the house is going to be like this. Okay. And we're going to need to get this piece in place here in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to zoom out of here a little bit. And what we want to do next is we want to finish off just kind of connecting this top section so that we can form everything up here so it sits correctly. So we're going to start by just putting a little bit of glue on this little green, in my case green, tab, and then fold that over and get that aligned. Give that a squeeze. There we go. Just like that. And then we can do the same thing here with this little tab. You can see that little tiny tab there. And just fold that over. Find your best, most comfortable position when you work on these tabs. Whatever works the best for you is fine. Okay. And then we just need to connect the top here. So get your glue on this final little tab here. And I'm going to work that glue out to the edges. There we go. Tuck that behind, get that aligned, and just squeeze that together. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right, guys, gals, ghouls. All right, so we're gonna attach the roof, and I think the best thing to do is to anchor it in the back so that we have somewhat of an idea of where it's gonna sit once we fold it over. So throw some glue on the back tab here. This is the front, this is the back. Okay, this is the back of our haunted house. So just kind of slip that in there. Make sure that it's nice and centered. Take a look on the back, make sure it's nice and centered. You can kind of fold it back a little bit and just make sure that it is centered, and then just push that tab into place, and it's going to kind of help it somewhat figure out where it needs to be. It needs to be nice and flush, like that. Okay, give that a few extra seconds to hold. And that's just gonna make life easier for us, because now you can just take it and just drop it in, and it's already kind of set. It knows where it needs to go. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do after we get it hinged on the back is we're gonna put glue on these tabs here. Okay, let me pop this one out so you can see. Okay, so there, we're gonna put some glue on these two tabs here. This one, this gray one here, and this gray one here. And we're gonna get those connected. Just wanna make sure that they're nice and flush on the inside. So this is gonna go behind this green piece. Okay, and you're just gonna have to stick your hand in there and do your best to get it as aligned as you can. Just press that into place. This is a little awkward, but it's definitely doable. Grab the other one and just get that one connected. I'm gonna try to show you that here in just a moment. Give it good force. Okay, there you go, just like that. Okay, bam. Bam, bam, bam. Let me grab my light. Okay, so take a look inside there. And you can see those two tabs just above the glowing window there. I've got those glued down. Okay, so again, those are just being glued down to the inside of this green section here. This green section here. All right, so now what we can do, we're gonna have to work from the inside, is we're gonna glue the tabs that are at the bottom of the roof part here. Okay, so I'll show you that here in a second as well. You know what, let me put some glue on it. You can actually stick your hand through the little back door, which is nice and convenient. And I'll show you which pieces I'm putting glue on. Okay. And you can see that piece there and that piece there. Let me show you again. Okay, so you see the little bits of glue there. And then I'm just gonna take that and push that up against the inside of this part here. You wanna make sure that you're getting it nice and getting the roof nice and flush with the structure. You can kind of feel where the edge of that tab is. So just do your best to get that nice and aligned. Same thing on this side. I'm gonna stick my hand through the actual bottom. And there we go, just like that. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so that's that. We've got those in place there. You can see, try to point them out here. Actually, you can just look through the back here, I think. Should be able to see it. There they are. Let me try to point to them. Right there. That tab is what we just glued down, and then there's the other one right there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these large tabs here, right here. It's so awkward. There you go, this guy. We're gonna glue these guys down now. One on this side, and then there's one on the other side, right there. We're gonna glue that down to the inside structure. Okay, so you're gonna have to just use the little opening for where your tea light's gonna go, or you can go straight through the bottom. And I'm just gonna do a line of glue, not a lot, just a little bit. We'll hold it, and I'll show you again where I'm putting the glue. There you go. I didn't use a lot, just a little bit. You can see those little lines of glue. And I'm just gonna make sure that it's nice and flush there, and I'm gonna just press that into place. Okay. Same with this side. Make sure it's nice and centered, flush all the way around. There we go. Okay, and that just leaves a few more little tabs here in this little area where we've got that little cutout there. Let me see if I can show you that. Yep, you can see that there's a few more little, the smaller little tabs that are left. There's 4 of them, 2 on this side. You can see them there. One of them sticking up, one of them is kind of folded over, and then there's 2 on this side. I'll try to point to it. And this is a little awkward, but this guy here and this guy here, we're just gonna fold those over and glue them to the inside, just like that, okay? So, and I'll show you where I'm putting the glue and how much. Pretty straightforward. You don't need to put a lot of glue on these. These are almost don't even matter. Okay. Okay, so again, the 2 little tabs there. Let me see if I can show you. There's one there, and there's another one right above it. I mean, you'll see it in yours. And then just fold those over. Make sure everything is nice and flush. And just make good contact with the inside. It's going to be the easiest way of doing that, I think. And then we've got 2 on this side. Get that nice and flush up against that inner wall. And let's get that one in place, and bam, we're pretty much done with this guy here. And then we're gonna go ahead and I think we're gonna put the bottom on so that it kind of holds its shape. Beautiful. Okay, so check that out. Really coming together now. And I think what is the best thing to do at this point is to close this up on the bottom, and that'll kind of help define the structure and the shape even more. So let's start with the large tab here in the back. And let me just kind of do a once over and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I think we're okay. All right, so let's get our glue on this tab here. Oops, what are you doing, glue? You're out of control today. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna paint that glue out to the edge. There we go. And I'm gonna line this up with the back. Make sure that you get it nice and centered. Now we're gonna eventually close this up once we get our stairs built, which we're gonna do here in just a moment. Okay, so that is the bottom. Now, we need to put glue on the remaining tabs here, and we need to close this up. So go ahead and get your glue on the rest of these tabs. And this is probably why I didn't put the windows on, because I knew we were gonna be kind of flailing this thing around, and I didn't want them to get ruined. So I'm glad that I made that call and didn't put the windows on, or the shutters, I should say. Okay, so let's just get some glue out to the edge here as well. Okay, and I'm going to spread that glue out to the very edges. Now, if you get a little bit that crosses over onto the surface, don't worry, because we've got some little stone pieces that are going to cover that up. It's almost like a little base trim for our house. All right, so we're going to fold this over and focus on just making sure that you get the side opposite of the side that's already connected. So this side here that I'm working on, get that nice and aligned first. Make sure that that's holding nicely, and then you can work the rest of the perimeter. I may have gone a little wacky with the glue here. That's okay. And there we go. Sure did. I went a little wacky with the glue. Okay, so hopefully you can see how that's going together. There's going to be one more layer that's going to get glued to this. So if this isn't pretty, don't worry about it. This is more kind of a little support piece to help us make sure that we get the structure to sit correctly for us. Okay, that's good. There we go. check your work, make sure that everything is making good contact there. And it is. All right, there we go. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to put together our stairs. This is probably the last little bit that we need to do before we finish this thing up. And we do have some little bats that we're going to put on the little balcony up at the top too, so that's going to look cool. All right, that is sitting nicely. Everything is looking great, and we still got to put the roof on, but no problem. Okay, so our stairs are made up of this piece here. It's all one piece, okay, and you want to, it's going to be like this. It's 2 steps, okay, and we're going to close it up back here, but we need to first, glue this behind the first little step here. So go ahead and get some glue on the first little triangle there, triangular tab, and get that connected to the first step, the face of the first step. Okay, and we can kind of go over to the other side and just do it on both sides so that it's easier, kind of work our way up the steps. And that was way too much glue. Let me just grab my little cotton pad here. I don't have anything else handy. Okay, so just get that connected right to the back of this piece. It's a little delicate little piece, but you can do it. Okay, so there's our first step. Now we're going to glue the top of the first step to these little triangular tabs. So go ahead and just throw a little bit of glue on that triangular tab there, and then let's do one there as well. And get that connected. You can stick that, try to stick, well, you know what? I'm going to use a dowel to help me kind of push up on that piece there. Make sure you get it nice and aligned and press up. Check your alignment. There we go. Now we can fold this back to expose the next 2 little triangular tabs. So just a little dot of glue there, and a little dot of glue there. And then pop that up, get it right in there. If you need to use a dowel or something, certainly time to do that. Go to the other side and get that connected. Okay, and we can move this out of the way. I'll throw some glue on these tabs here for the top of the top step. Okay, and just fold that over, tuck that tab under, give it a squeeze. And the same thing on this side. There we go. Okay, so now all we need to do is just fold these tabs over and close this up. Let's get our glue on these remaining tabs. Just going to dab that and close that up nicely. Kind of push in the walls if you need to make sure that everything is nice and aligned. And just hold that for a moment. I'm going to press that down on my table. And there's our little steps. Okay. So what we're going to do next, this is our front door here. We're going to glue this right to the front. It needs to be nice and flush with the bottom there. Okay, so we're going to do that here in just a moment. Now, but before we do, let's grab these pieces here and just check and make sure that everything matches up nicely. And that matches up very nicely. Okay, so let's glue our stairs down. And I'm just going to put glue on the back of this piece here, this entire piece. And I'll thin that out so it sets quicker. Get it all the way out to the edges on all sides here. Okay, and just pop that right into place and just make sure it's nice and flush with the bottom and that it's nice and flush with the sides as well. And I think what'll help is if we just put this down on our surface and then push down, not too hard, don't break it. Just get that in place. And that is nice and flush, I love it. That is sitting nicely. And I would just kind of hold that for a moment just to make sure that it doesn't come loose. Okay, just like that. Now what we can do is grab this piece here, and that is going to go on like so to cover up the side to make it look all seamless. Okay, just like that, all the way down to the bottom. Okay, let's get our glue on this piece. And there's going to be a panel that's going to go over that as well. Kind of pretty it up. So just pop that in there. Should be nice and flush up against the building, and then line it up with the steps, like so. There we go. And I've got a little bit of a piece here that's almost looks like I just didn't glue it very well, but you know what? That's okay because we still have to put the roofs on, and that's going to cover everything up nicely. So don't even stress out about any little tiny imperfection, should you have any. Okay, let's go over to the other side. We'll put this piece on, just like we did the other side. Make that all nice and seamless, and then we'll add our little accent piece. Just pop that right in. Make sure that, most importantly, just make sure that it's matching up with the steps. Don't worry too much about up here, because again, that's going to be covered up with our roof here once we get to that point. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's find our little, in this case, we got a stripe pattern here. Okay, and that is going to go, that's going to be nice and centered, so there's a nice even border going all the way around everything. Okay, so let's get our glue on this piece here, get this into place, and we are almost done. Okay, so remember, nice even border all the way around here. Just like that. And you know what, the top is, no, it's not flush. Yeah, it is flush. The top is flush here, up at the top. So just make sure that's flush at the top, but then a nice even border the rest of the way down. Because remember, these were all flush here, so this is going to be flush up at the top too. There we go. Other side. Let's get our glue in place. And remember, this part is going to be flush. I'm going to kind of hold it down here. Get it centered. There we go. Oops. I just said that it should be flush, and then I didn't even do it. Silly me. And I got a little bit of glue that shot out of there. That's okay, though. Oops. Boy, am I getting sloppy. Okay. All right, so that is looking sharp. Now, what we can go ahead and do is, on the stairs here, I do have these little pieces that are gonna go right here to kind of, you know, give it the look and appearance of stone. So I don't know, I embossed mine. You don't have to. You can ink it differently, or you can emboss it and just pop it right in place, just like that. It's going to make it look more realistic. Okay, just make sure that you're getting the positioning of these pieces correct. There we go. That looks nice. All right, Okay, so now, you know, we're to that point now where we can pretty much do whatever we want. I'm going to go ahead and close this up. And actually, you know what, technically, I don't even think we need to. Whoops, what is going on here? Now here's another little thing, another little tidbit. Sometimes when you emboss pieces, you know, you don't get as much glue on all the surface area, and you got to be a little more patient just to make sure that everything sets and dries nicely before you start pulling things apart. Or before you start moving on, I should say. But that's good now. Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, we can put this on the bottom. And let's go ahead and get that glued down. So just simply put some glue around this entire little area down here. And then work it out to the edges as well. And I'm going to spread that out. Okay, and let's just close her up. I don't think there's anything else we need to do on the inside. So just get that nice and lined up. Okay, and right up to the front. That should match up nice and precise. And you just push that down, use your table, and then run your fingers along all the perimeter pieces here, just to make sure that it's all making good contact. Okay, so while we're down here, whoops, oh, good job, Leo. I'm struggling a little bit today. I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on here, just paint some glue on there so I can close this up. I think maybe I just didn't get enough glue in some of these areas, and that's fine. You can clean that up in a second. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, all right, so she is looking sharp, and well, all that's really left to do now, we do have some little trim. Oh, look at that. I'm having issues with this side too. Let me paint some glue on here. So you see, folks, even I have some problems from time to time. Might be because it's getting a little hot in here too. Been under these lights for, seems like it's just over an hour now. Okay, good. All right, so as I was going to say, we do have a little trim piece for our base. Okay, so that's going to go on like this, and that part's going to fold over like so. So we can go ahead and put our glue on the longer piece here. And then the cool part about this is you can kind of use that to cover up any imperfections with the base if you kind of messed up a little bit or whatever. So that's going to cover up nicely. There we go. Okay, let's flip this over to the other side. Same thing here. That's going to go like that. So let's get our glue on the larger piece. And then we can throw some glue on the smaller section too. Get that nice and flush with the bottom. And then just fold that over onto the front. And I did also emboss that with a nice stone texture. My little stone embossing folder. I think it's by Doris. Just check your supply list. I'll do my best to include all of that information. You can see how nice that really accents the bottom. Okay, so we do have one more piece for our base on the back, and that's going to go like this. Just make sure that you have the orientation correct, because it won't work this way. It only works this way. So let's get our glue on there. There we go. And voila. All right. Awesome. Now this is where the real magic comes in. All right, let's do our door first. And the door is going to go around just like that. Okay, so let's get our glue on our door. And just pop that right into place. This should pretty much be flush with where the stairs are. I got it pretty spot on, just like that. And let's see here. I'm missing a piece. I don't know where it went. Okay, there's a little piece that goes on the door here. You see that there's a little marker. It's a little it's like a diamond shape. You need to get that glued into place there. Just a little diamond shape. Mine is MIA. So I apologize for that. You'll see it in the final photo. It's just a little triangle. There's two little markers there to help you position that. But let's go ahead and get our windows kind of assembled and installed. So we've got the black part, okay, and then we've got the little trim that goes around the inner part. Let's get our glue on there. And we'll glue that to the center. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and flush up at the top. The rest of it will just kind of fall into place. And then we've got the little shutters here. And make sure you get the right pieces because there's two different styles of windows. There's one for the front and then the ones on the side are a little bit different. So, okay, so the first little shutter's on and we'll get the next one on. And again, there's 3 windows and the process is pretty much the same minus one little detail that is a little bit different for the windows on the side, which I'll show you here in just a sec. Okay, so just get that lined up nicely. There we go. That looks good. All right, now this is for the front, and that's gonna go on like that. Just like that. Okay, so we're just gonna put glue on the center part because we want the shutters to kind of stick out and be open. Just a little bit of glue in the center is fine. And all we have to do is just match it up with the existing little cutouts there. That'll help with placement. Oops. And just press and hold that into place there. Give it a second. I'm trying to glue it on an embossed surface, so I need to be a little more patient. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's do the other windows here. Now the ones on the sides have a little piece on the bottom, so that's really the only difference. So we're gonna do this twice. It's the same thing for both of them. I'm gonna start by gluing the little trim in the center of the window. And just match that up with the little finial up on top. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and centered. Okay, and then grab your little shutters, or the colored part of the shutters, I should say. And just drop that right into place. There we go. And our other one. A lot of little details that really make this thing come to life. So the hard part's over. This is the fun part. Just a little bit of paper piecing and we're on the home stretch here. Okay, and again, the difference between this one is that we've got this little decorative piece at the bottom. Just get that glued on and you can see exactly where it goes. I would just use the little finial part. What am I doing? To kind of get that aligned nicely. Okay, and then you can flip this over and just get your glue on just the center part again, just like we did. Like that. Just like that. And we'll pop that into place. Just match that up with the little crosses on the existing piece that's already there. Get that nice and centered. Hold that down right there. Here we go. Now she's coming to life. Okay, great. So that just leaves one more window on this side. And you guys already seen me do this, but I guess since we're on the home stretch here, we'll just do it again. So, the question is, how's your project coming along? Is it hopefully looking just as good, maybe even better than mine? And what kind of papers did you use? Oh, and my real question is, are we still dressing up for Halloween? I typically like to keep things kind of classic and romantic as far as, you know, Halloween costumes go, Wolfman, Dracula, stuff like that. But I think this year I'm going to be, might be Mike Ditka, the former Chicago Bears coach, 1985 Super Bowl winning coach. But I don't know, it's still in the air. I got one of those Mike Ditka sweaters that he was known to wear when he was a coach as a birthday present for my girlfriend's sister. And it just kind of gave me an idea for a costume, so we'll see. If I don't have time to do something cooler, then I think I'll just go with that. We'll see. All right, so putting this piece on just like we did before, matching it up with the little diamond part of the finial at the bottom, just like that. And then again, just putting glue on just the black part in the center, not on the actual shutters, because we want those to stay open. There we go. And matching that up with the existing little crosses there. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so all that's left to do now is put our little roof pieces in place. So we've got two smaller ones and one large one. The large one is going to go right here on the front of the house. Okay, so all we need to do is just throw some glue right on the surface here. You don't want to put it on that because it does extend beyond this section here. I think that's fine. And then just pop that right onto where it's, well, at the peak. And then make sure it's nice and flush up against the rest of the roof here, this part of the roof. And just push that down. Easy. And again, kind of covers up any of the little imperfections that we may have had there. Beautiful. Let's move on over to this side here. And let's get our glue on this section. And these two pieces are identical, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. And just get that nice and flush up against the house and hold that in place. Give that a second to set. There we go. And the last side here. And then we added a little bonus for you. I'll show you what that is. It's optional. I think I'm going to decorate mine with maybe one of those Limax pumpkins, but we did include an optional little paper piecing pumpkin, just a flat one that you can put on near the doorstep. There we go. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Look at that bad boy. All right, let's just look at the pumpkin real quick. I'll show you how he goes together, just to get that out of the way, and then we'll work on. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so to assemble the pumpkin, we're just going to put some glue on the back of his face. And I think it's pretty obvious where this one goes. Just match that up with the nice little shadow. And then we've got two little pieces for the stem. Okay, Okay, this long one, that's kind of like a J shape, that's gonna go up towards the top. And this is a real tiny piece. Should have probably got my pick-me-up tool for this, but that's okay. And that's gonna go right on top like that. Make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the stem. Okay, and then we've got this little tiny piece. Just to kind of give it a little interest and dimension there. Yeah, this would be a good time to use my pick-me-up tool, but yeah, it's all right. And that's just going to go over on the left side so that we have a little bit of black showing through there in the center. Okay, so there's your pumpkin. If you want, you can kind of glue them to the side of the house here like that. It's up to you. All right, so all that's left now is our little balcony up at the top, and it's made up of this piece here. So you want to fold this over to bring up the little fencing. Okay, it's a really delicate piece, so be careful as you're folding these. And you know what, I'm going to zoom in for you here. Okay, so we'll fold that over as well. And now you'll notice that on the ends of two of these, there's tiny little tabs. We're going to take those tabs and glue them to the inside of our neighboring pieces so that everything stays nice and connected. Really tiny little tabs here. Just look for those. Hopefully they're showing up on the camera. I can never really tell, especially when I'm working with black. Okay, and just fold that over and hold until it sets. Same thing with the other side. I got way too much glue on there. If it helps, grab a little dowel or something if you need to. Okay, and that just leaves two more little tabs there on this side. Go very, very sparse with the glue here. It's such a tiny little piece. And I'm going to just kind of hit this with my little applicator to kind of thin that glue out. Tuck that in and tuck it behind the neighboring piece there. A really tiny little small piece, but that's fine. You'll get it. Again, if you need to, you can kind of use a little dowel to help you get your finger in there, or use your dowel as your finger, I should say, to kind of hold that. That actually is working nicely. That's a very tiny little piece. It's okay. Okay, and I've got one little section that kind of pulled apart, so I'm just going to grab some glue, and which is it? Where is it? There you are. Just going to paint it with a little bit of glue. Kind of feel like I'm doing surgery again. And a tiny little piece like that. Just hold that in place until it fully sets. There we go. Okay. Well, not quite. That's better. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for, looking to accomplish there. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to take some glue and just put some glue on the bottom of this, and I'm going to work that glue out to the very edge as well. I want it to be nice and seamless up at the top. Okay. And well, I gotta zoom out now. And just hold it in place until you're sure it's fully set. You can kind of push these in a little bit if they're sticking out too much. That's fine. Okay, there we go. All right, so now this piece, you're probably wondering, well, what's this? This is gonna go over this piece here, but first, we have some bats and I have some wire. For those of you that made our little haunted house tea light thing from a while back, you'll be familiar with this process. And I'm going to grab a dowel. We're going to have 3 bats kind of floating around. And I'm just going to take this wire and I'm going to wrap it around my dowel to kind of make it springy. And then we're going to just sandwich the little bats, 2 of them, in between the wire. Okay, so that will kind of give it a nice springy appearance. Now, what the heck did I just do? There we go. That's pretty good. And kind of figure out the length that we want. Yeah, that's probably good. You know what, maybe. I think maybe I want the springy part to not be as wide. So I'm just gonna wrap this around a thinner dowel. I want the springiness to, or the spring to be a little bit thinner. It was kind of wide there, and that's okay. Okay, make our little spring. There we go. Okay, and they're not going to be flying too far or too high above the haunted house. So I'm going to straighten that out because that's where my bat's going to go. And I'm going to cut this about here. Okay, and then just straighten that out. If you want, you can kind of straighten it out with a dowel on your table. And then grab 2 bats. And we're just going to put glue on one of them. Okay, and then you can take your wire, put them right in the center of our little bat. Just like that, and then take your other, bat, lay it right on top with that wire in the center. If you need to pick it up a little bit to scooch it around, now is the time to do that. And then just press and hold in the center just to make sure that the little wire just stays put. Okay, you can tighten up the little spring if you want. And then the idea is to just kind of poke it. You'll notice that there's 3 little crosses on this. Just poke it through the cross, the little X, like that. And then if you want, I would probably suggest just taping it to the bottom. I think that should probably hold it because we're going to eventually glue this down too. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of Scotch tape and just glue that down like that. And there we go. There's springy bat number 1. We're going to repeat that same process for the rest of them. And then we're going to glue this up on top of the house. So let's do another one here so I can show you. Just pull out however much spring you think you're going to need. Maybe a little extra for the bottom and then maybe a little extra for the top where it's going to connect to our bat. Okay, and let's get some glue on one side of our bat. There we go. Lay that down on your surface and place your wire right in the center so that it's kind of nice and centered with those little butt. Just like that. And then take your other bat and just sandwich that wire. Whoops, kind of moved on me a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna pick it up. And just press, get it nice and sandwiched in there. There we go. All right. And again, just poke it through the little X. Oh boy. And just tape it down to the underside. Just a little bit of tape. You don't need a lot. There we go. So there's bat number 2. Ready to go. There, you see that? Okay. And we'll do one more here. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Get some of your wire. Just trim a little bit. Straighten out one side. It doesn't matter which side. And let's get our glue on one of these bats here. If you need to, it's a tiny little piece, but try to get that glue out to the very ends and the tips of his ears and his little butt. And then pop your wire right in the center there. And then just go ahead and sandwich the other piece into place. Okay, and we'll poke the last one through here and get that taped to the bottom. And then all that's left to do is just glue this down to the top. Okay, so flip this over and we'll get our glue on the bottom of this piece here. Try to work that glue out to the edges so it sits nice and secure, nice and flush. Maybe a little bit more up here. Don't worry about the glue in the center. That's fine. Okay, and then just slide that right into the top there. And just press, make sure that it's making good contact all the way around. You can use a little dowel if you need to. And then once it's fully set, you can go ahead and just kind of, adjust your bats and kind of make them go whichever direction you want them to go. But that pretty much does it for this project. I am going to add some little embellishments to it here and there. So just take a look at the final photo so you can see what else we kind of added to the project to give it a little extra bling. But anyway, I think this turned out great. I always seem to forget to do this, but our last step here, actually, we're not done. We need to glue this to the base. Okay, now what you want to do is just kind of keep a nice border all the way around. You don't want it to go all the way to the back, nor do you want it to go all the way to the front. Just try to keep it nice and centered, basically. And to do that, all you need to do is just get your glue on the bottom of this. Just get your glue all the way out to, around the perimeter, a little bit in the center as well. And then just pop it down onto your base. Kind of may help to get a little bit like of an eagle eye view of where you're putting it, which is not what I'm doing, but I can see in the back there that I've got it pretty much spot on. So, and then if you want, you can certainly add a little, you can put your light in there to kind of weigh it down, but I think that's going to hold it just fine. So anyway, sorry about forgetting about to do that, but there she is. Okay, so she's all done. I've got my little light in there, and here we go. Look at that. That is cool. Wicked cool. It's going to look great once the lights are dimmed. But anyway, there she is, and love the final result. Very cool looking haunted house. Hope you guys enjoyed the process. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It lets me know that you enjoy our projects and that you enjoy crafting with me. If you make this or any of the items from our new bundle, we'd love to see it. So definitely join us in the official group on Facebook by heading over to your Facebook and doing a search for Dreaming Tree Group, where you can join myself and the almost 15,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I look forward to crafting with you again.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.dreamingtree.com. www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.